Yeah, this is InvinciBullTV. That's InvinciBull for Bull City, where the gods are immortal and the people are unstoppable. I'm your host, IB Einstein, the local leader in black media. That's IB because I am that I am in soul, and Einstein because I am a development of intelligence in my human experience. And I got my co-host, Jay Martin, with me today.
What's going on, IB?
What's good, homie?
Chillin', man.
Alrighty. Let's get into the show today.
Let's go.
Today's show is called Bull City Politics, and we're going to be discussing local government and how you can use the voting process in order to benefit yourself and solve some of the problems that we have going on in the community.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
right up my alley.
Right up your alley. Well, what's your experience with government?
My experience with government, back in high school, I got nominated to go to NYLC, the National Leadership Conference, and I got to sit in on play on Congress, where we got to basically go through the whole Congress setup and how it works and government, and I got to meet these politicians such as Jesse Helms and John Edwards, and we got to see exactly how government is run.
Okay.
First-hand experience.
Word. So my experience with it in high school, I got nominated to go to Boys State, and they take 4 high school kids from each county, and then they teach you politics at the state level, and you have to run for office. Right. You have to balance a budget for your city, and then you also have sessions where you have to write legislation.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, we had a session where we had to write legislation too. It was about gun laws.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got to vote. Basically, Congress vote, House and Senate. We got to play both, and we voted on youth gun laws.
Okay. Okay. And cut the mic up just slightly.
Okay.
Test. Yeah. All right. So, in Durham, we have a council manager.
Yes.
Form of municipal government, and in this form of government, your mayor. Right. Our mayor here is Bill Bell, but it's more of a figurehead position for ceremonial purposes on TV. Yeah. But his functional duty, he's like a council member at large. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then the person that runs the city is the city manager. And
it's just Tom Benefield.
Tom Benefield. Right. Right. And so he's expected to he runs the city like a business. So he's considered the CEO
of the city.
And then you have the council members. Right. How many council members we have in Durham?
6. Including Bill. 7 including Bill.
Including Bill Bell. So he has the veto power in his vote.
Exactly.
In the tiebreaker.
Right.
Right. And then so you run for these positions, and they're divided into districts in the city. Yep. All right. And then they also the function of the city councilman is to enact policies. Right. Make codes. Yep. And make ordinances. Exactly. And offer legislation as well. Right. And these are like part-time positions. Kind of, sort of, because I think the pay is like $13,500.
Yeah, the pay is not much at all.
Yeah. So don't go into this making it like I want to be a career
city councilman.
Yeah, a career politician for city council.
No.
Yeah. But the most power lies in the city manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so he makes all the decisions. He basically balances the budget.
Yeah, and he offers counsel to the council. Yeah, right. He plays an advisory role in the council. Yep. And he does things like hire the police chief if you have a problem with crime. The power to hire that man lies within the city manager.
Right. That's his job.
So is the city manager voted for us, or is he appointed?
He's appointed by the council.
He's appointed by the council. So you get an idea of where you should focus your vote on in the local elections. Right. So we also have some interesting numbers for the local elections.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, what's some numbers that we can point out here? The total population of Durham is, I got the 2010 number. You had the 2013.
I got the 2013 number is 245,475 people.
All right, and then in the last mayor election, we had 175,000 voters in Durham.
Yes.
And the mayor won with 17,000 votes.
17,000 votes.
Yeah, so he had less than 10%
of the voting population.
Mm-hmm. So that, and then the turnout was about 10%.
Yeah, because everybody voted on the mayor, so the turnout was about 10%.
Yeah, so only 10% of the registered voters in Durham came out to vote for the mayor. The runner-up had like less than 2,500 votes.
Yeah.
And then the third person had like
less than 600 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
So you see the power that you can have in this process. And we cater our show more towards the black community.
Yes.
And so the way that the voting is done is the way that the demographic is divided. So you have so if you look at the voting numbers, it will look like it's more white people than black people registered to vote in Durham.
Right, because they kind of juke the numbers.
Yeah. So the way that the numbers are, they have the black vote is exclusive, and then the white vote is inclusive.
Yes.
So when you look at the numbers, it'll say white, and then it'll be like non-white
or white alone.
White alone. So things that are included in the white vote is North African, Arab, and the Hispanic or Latino.
Yes.
Yeah, in a good deal of the Latino Hispanic community marks themselves as white.
As white, yes.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by the white numbers are inclusive. And then the black vote is exclusive. It's just black.
Just black folks.
Yeah. And so that skews the numbers some.
Right. Well, people of African American descent are considered black.
And then 7% Asian American, and then 0.5% Native American.
Yep.
And so so white alone was 38%.
Yes.
And so the numbers got boosted up by another 4.5-5% by the other population of people that mark themselves white that's not of European descent.
Exactly, and that's mostly Hispanic.
Yeah, mostly Hispanic. And so we say that so you can get an idea of how the numbers are, so you can have a different reality. And so when you study the problem, now you can have a better strategy.
Yes.
So that you know how the numbers really are. Right. Versus when you just read the numbers on a TV screen, they won't divide it up for you.
Yeah, no. The only way you can get those numbers is by going to the U.S. Census and pulling the data for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no other way. The media is not going to show you that because, for one, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to show that because it's difficult to show.
Yeah.
And for two, they're just not going to show it because most of the media organizations are the majority in the city.
Yeah. And so you can gather yourself. So black folks, we need to actually get together in our communities, and we have to identify our problems.
Yes.
And then we also have to identify what we can do to solve them. We have to have an agenda.
Yes.
And then the person that we're expecting to vote for, we have to take them our agenda.
Right.
And we trade our agenda for votes.
For votes, without a doubt.
Yeah. And so
it's basically checks and balances for the people.
Right. And if the politician doesn't want to support your agenda, then you don't vote for that guy.
Right, you vote for somebody else.
Yeah, and so you find a politician that will support your agenda.
Yes.
With your votes. And then, we talk about economics, how important economics is on the show. And so you not only back that politician with your votes, you back that politician with your money.
With your money, yes.
As well.
Yes.
Yeah. And so one form of backing politicians in groups is making PACs.
Yes, PACs.
Political action committees.
Political action committees, yes.
And we have three major ones in Durham. That would be the Friends of Durham.
Friends of Durham, of course.
That would be the Durham People's Alliance.
Durham People's Alliance, which is the biggest.
And the Durham Committee for the Affairs of Black People.
That's for us.
Okay. And so the Friends of Durham we're seeing they're mostly white
and mostly Republican.
Yep. And they're concerned with just bringing money into the city.
Yes, money and crime.
Yeah. So the things that they say that's a hindrance to bringing money into the city. Yes. They want to bring money, they want to bring in businesses, and they want to bring in more clients and customers for the businesses to operate. And the thing that's affecting that, they say, is crime.
Crime, right?
The failing educational system.
Yep.
For public schools.
For public schools, yes.
And what else they say? And they said racism.
Racism, yes.
And not just racism. They say when you bring in racism, when race has nothing to do with politics.
With politics, right.
Right. So we see how detached they are from the reality of the community in Durham.
In Durham, without a doubt.
And then you have what's the second one was the Durham People's Alliance.
Durham People's Alliance.
And they're mostly progressive and liberal.
Mostly liberal, yes.
Yeah. And they tend to vote Democratic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Durham tends to vote Democratic.
Durham has never voted for a Republican mayor since the city was founded.
Yes. Without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So every year. So in the Durham People's Alliance, they're all about uplifting the quality of living.
Yes.
Yeah. So they want to support good food, healthier food, better education.
Right.
Better infrastructure, living conditions, a reduction, and not necessarily reduce crime, but to reduce poverty in your lower middle class to poor communities. Right. But they don't really. Their agenda is the complete opposite of the Friends of Durham. Yes. Because they want to do these things by getting free money from the government in the form of stipends and grants, not produce the money on their own.
On themselves, yes.
Yeah, and then you have the Durham Committee for the Affairs of Black People, and they go on. They stem directly out of the Civil Rights Movement,
without a doubt,
and they tend to be older.
Yes,
I don't see a lot of young people.
Not a lot of young people in that organization. No.
Yeah, and they still have that old civil rights mentality, and they're still fighting the fight for equality.
Yeah,
and social justice
and voting laws and all that good stuff.
And voting laws. Yeah. And so you can research these PACs. Their agendas are all online. You can find out all of them. I think Durham has 7 of them. You can find all of that by contacting your board of election. Okay. Yep. And then we all have to abide by, the city of Durham has codes and ordinances. Yes. We're not going to go into those, but you can always look that up online. It's important for you to know the law of the land. Yep. You can go on your city website and you can look those codes and ordinances up. Yep. They're all public knowledge. Yeah, and for the state, we have a state constitution, which is also online. Yep. Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of little things that you wouldn't know are laws, and there are things that you've paid tickets for, which was kind of shaky on the law. You could have just known the law and like, this ticket can't exceed this amount. Right. Yeah, like you have a limit on how much a speeding ticket can be. Yep. Yeah, or you can't park this way or that way. Yep. And you get a ticket, but the law says you can't ticket that. Yeah, still ticket that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's a direct relationship to your legislator. To your legislation, and when you make these PACs, and when we talk about getting your people together and your agenda together, and supporting these politicians, we have to have smarter people in our community, and we have to offer our own legislation. Yes, without a doubt. You have to push forth agendas in order for your legislation to vote on them and to make sure that your agenda is heard, so it can get to those people and they can make codes and ordinances for you to live under that are a direct representation of how you feel in your community or how you live in your community. Yeah. So we So yeah, like we said, you have to offer your own legislation because they don't really understand your whole problem.
Right.
Yeah, our councilman and our mayor and the city manager, they're not like originally from Durham. I don't know about the councilman, but Bill Bell is from DC.
DC, yeah, he graduated from Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, but he's been here a long time.
He's been here a long time.
So he understands the problem. But the legislation that's being offered is not really in support of the black community.
Right.
Because we have political problems and social issues here. You know, I see the community talking about crime.
Right.
That's and then the middle class black community, the younger people that's just now moving up in socioeconomic status.
Right.
We're concerned with gentrification.
Yep.
And home ownership.
Yep.
And like a lot of people don't even know what gentrification is.
No.
But all the legislation that's being offered is supporting that.
Yeah, it's supporting that. Based on the last census, 10-year census. Yeah, most of the legislation passed has been towards gentrification due to the last census.
Yeah, and to have your population numbers skewed, it leads to gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering, yep,
yeah.
Without a doubt.
What's that?
Gerrymandering is basically the boundaries that you live under.
Okay.
So what gerrymandering is a direct relation to politics, and what it is say for instance you live in this one section, right?
Right.
And you have 10 black folks.
Okay.
Okay. And 10 black folks is all that you have in that one section.
Yeah.
And these 10 black folks vote this way.
Okay.
Each and every time. All right. Gerrymandering would be moving those borders to directly affect that vote.
Yeah.
So you widen those borders out. So now, not only do you have 10 black folks, but you have 20 white folks.
Right.
That's gerrymandering for the success of one political party.
For the success of one political party.
Yeah.
And that's not really discussed in the news, but something that's similar to it that gets discussed in the news a lot is changing the borders for public schools.
For public schools, yes, without a doubt.
So it's the exact same thing.
Yep.
But instead of it being about putting children in schools, it's about getting votes for a political party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we kept talking about the PACs and what the PACs are. But what is a PAC? Stands for Political Action Committee.
Yeah. And a PAC is basically the people who give money to political campaigns.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's a direct relation of politics also. It's also a direct relation of party stands.
Okay.
So, you have PACs that specifically give to the Democratic Party, and you have PACs that specifically give to the Republican Party. So basically, all a PAC is a group of people who give money to a political party.
Yeah. And you can they offer legislation as well?
No.
Okay.
A PAC, well, that's where the gray area comes in, because if you're giving money to a campaign, it's a whole lot easier for the person who gave money to a campaign for their phone calls to get answered than it is for you, just one vote, to have your phone call answered.
So when we talk about supporting that candidate with money, it's best to do it through a PAC.
It's best to do it through a PAC because you can get a group of people together, and everybody knows that a group is more important than a single individual.
Yeah.
So you can bring together, get you a PAC together, build up your money, and support a candidate. And in turn, you can get your issues to that candidate more easily because you can be like, okay, I supported your campaign with this money. You know what I mean? So now, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
I helped you win this election. Now, what are you going to do for me?
Right. Yeah. So when it comes,
and that's not illegal. That's just politics.
That's just politics.
Right.
So what's the difference between politics and government?
Politics and government is two totally different things. Okay. All right. Politics is based on everything as far as money and an election. Okay. Government is basically running your cities, states, and federal government.
Okay.
All right. So, in government, which is, we're going to talk about the federal level right now, you got 3 branches.
Okay.
All right. You got your Congress, you got your president, and you got your courts, better known as legislative, executive, and judicial. All right. The most important, due to the Constitution, is Congress.
Yeah.
All right. That's your most important branch of government. the legislative branch. All right. That's direct relation to the Constitution.
Okay.
All right. So, you know, when in your branches, well, in Congress, you have two different parts. Call it a bicameral situation or government. All right. You got your House of Representatives.
Okay.
It's 435 of them.
Yeah.
You got your senators.
Yes.
There's 100 of them.
Right.
2 for each state.
2 for each state.
All right. That's a direct relation to the Constitution. Also, it has a lot to do with that 3/5 human thing, but we're not gonna get into that right now. All right. So what you have is you have your senators. Your senators is supposedly like a council. All right. They're the counselors. That's why they have to be older and wiser. You know what I mean? So you can't be a senator unless you're 35 years old.
Right.
All right. Then you got your House of Representatives.
Yeah.
They're a direct relationship to their constituents. All right.
Correct.
So your congressman is supposed to be a representation of you in Washington.
Yeah.
All right. That's why they're so important.
Yeah.
All right. So you got the House of Representatives, 435 of them. You got the Senate, 100 of those guys. And broke down the ages. So the senators, you get 6 years. Okay.
True.
Because you're a council.
Right.
All right. Representatives, you get 2 years because you're a direct representation. So if you're a direct representation, you would obviously need more elections because the representation might change.
Right.
You can't just be up there forever doing what you do.
Right.
Exactly. So, you know, the House of Representatives has the power to impeach. The senators hold the trial for the impeachment. The House of Representatives is basically put forth your bills, and they have the ability to raise your taxes or lower your taxes. All right. And the senators, they give confirmations on judges and things of that nature, and they also do treaties. All right. So under that, you have caucuses, like your National Black Caucus.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just information. They bring forth an agenda. You know what I mean? They might bring it to a subcommittee for a bill. You know what I mean? And it goes before Congress. Then you have your state delegation.
Yeah.
All right. State delegation is, you know, the congressmen or the senators of that state.
Yeah.
They bring forth everything to that state. So when you talk about your congressman being a direct representation of you, you have to understand who your congressmen are on your local level. All right. So the congressmen that we have in Durham, we have 3 districts. We got the 4th district, we got the 1st district, we got the 6th district. All right. 4th district is David Price.
Right.
All right. 1st district is G.K. Butterfield. He just recently got elected.
Yeah.
And the 6th district is Mark Walker. He just recently got elected. Like, yeah, he was the last election.
Yeah.
All right. And so those are the people that directly affect your vote in Washington.
Okay.
All right. David Price is us.
Right.
All right. That's state. That's from the state capital in.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are your congressmen. Those are a direct representation for you. So when you have an issue that affects your district, the thing that you do is you go directly to your congressman. And if they don't settle what you need, then you have the power to vote them out of office.
Okay.
All right. That's government.
Okay.
You want to go on policy?
All that information is in the Constitution.
All that information is in the Constitution.
It's spelled out for you in
the Constitution, yes, without a doubt.
All right. So go into politics.
All right. Politics has nothing to do with government, first off.
Okay.
All right. Now, it kind of gets brought into government, but it shouldn't have anything to do with government.
Okay.
Politics is just money and elections.
Okay.
That's all politics is.
Yeah.
All right. So politics is most important. Every election is a 0 because of gerrymandering, what we just brought up. And you know, so when when your census come out every 10 years, that's when your vote is most important. Because you don't want people to get in office who can move those borders around, so your vote really doesn't matter in the scheme of things anymore.
Yeah.
Really doesn't have too much to do in Durham, but if you move, you know, it might affect you. Right. Because we vote Democratic. All right. So politics is a direct relation of how much money you give to a candidate. All right. And that's based on, you know, political action committees and incumbents. All right. So an incumbent is a person running for office.
True.
Right. So incumbents get $100,000 of free postage. That's an advantage. You see what I'm saying? Because they can send out as much mail to their constituents as they want to.
Okay.
All right. So you have the incumbent and you have your person rerunning. All right. Now you have the PACs giving money to these two people.
Okay.
All right. The incumbent has a record to run on. That's the most important part. All right. When your incumbent has a record to run on, it's mostly because of jobs.
Okay.
All right. This is how the system is set up. It's different now. You know, they run on, you know, who's the nicest and who's the most Christian and things of that nature now.
Right.
But the thing that it was set up for was who can give their people the most. All right. And that comes from pork barrel spending.
Okay.
All right. Pork barrel programs. And patronage.
Okay.
All right. And your congressman can give out patronage. You know, you can bring in staffers or you can hire people.
What's pork barrel programs?
Pork barrel programs is when your senator, well, mostly it's congressman. When your congressman goes up to the legislator and he's like, look, man, I need $100,000 to build this building that's gonna bring in 200,000 jobs.
Okay.
All right. And they were like, okay, we'll sign off on that money. Normally they do that within a bill.
Okay.
Right. Normally that's in the fine print of a bill. They get at $100,000 to build that, and then you have a direct relationship. You could be like, look, man, I gave y'all 200,000 jobs. Y'all should vote for me again. You see, that's how that comes in.
Okay.
Yeah. Pork barrel spending has become like a sin now.
Yeah.
But that's all it is. They're just going to change the name.
Because I've only heard the term in political advertisements.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he had this much in pork barrel spending. Don't vote for that guy.
Right. Because they try to say that that's a direct relationship to increasing your taxes. When it's not, because Congress can up and down your taxes all they want to. That's one of their jobs. That's how I say politics, government, two totally different things.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. So, or where was I? Okay. So directly give jobs. All right.
Right.
So that's what your incumbent runs on. Your newcomer runs on. The incumbent hasn't done enough.
Yeah.
Those 200,000 jobs and that $100,000 wasn't enough.
Yeah.
We needed 3 buildings. I'll bring you the 3 buildings.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what he runs on.
All right.
That's how it goes. And it's more nuances to it, but that's the gist.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then you have your PACs who give money so that, you know, you can put out more ads or you can send more mail than the 100,000 that this guy gets. But, you know, it's all a direct relationship to money and voting.
Okay.
That's all politics is.
I never grasped that concept. I never saw it like that.
Yeah.
How to separate politics from government.
Yeah.
It's always been synonymous to me because politics has been brought into government.
Exactly.
So much.
Exactly, because you got to understand that when you bring politics into government, it has a direct correlation to party. You know what I mean? So if you're the majority in, let's say, the House. If you're the majority in the House, you can vote for the Speaker of the House. All right. Now, the Speaker of the House can disperse his congressmen to different committees, and those committees bring forth bills.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So that's how you can see it, kind of politics pulling itself into government when they should not be. They have ideals that they need to stand by. That's where the parties come from.
Yeah.
Different ideals, you know, liberal, conservative. You know what I mean? But those ideals shouldn't be affecting the way that they govern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you have a Republican Party or a Democratic Party that gets to vote on the head of the House and he can disperse, you know, committees how he wants to, of course it's going to come in, because once you get power, you never want to lose it.
Right.
So,
and so by knowing these things, we can develop a strategy in our advantage.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's for our community. And you don't want to take that strategy outside of your community.
No.
Because you don't want anybody to make a counter to your strategy.
Exactly.
So you plan it strategically, and then you execute fast, all in a hurry.
And efficiently. Like, you don't want to be taking your money and dispersing it throughout 100 candidates.
Right.
Like, it's easy to win that way, but it's really not efficient. It's like going to the track and betting on 10 horses and all 10 horses. Like, you're gonna win, but you're not gonna win efficiently. You bet on the horse that's most qualified to win, and when that horse gets in office, you make him accountable to that vote.
And also, like I said, so you do it fast in a hurry, like a blitzkrieg. I mean, it's political science. And political science goes in hand with it's a social science that goes in hand. It's a part of a war strategy.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, so you have to operate this like 48 laws of power.
Yes.
And he also has 33 laws of war. And so it's you have to handle it militarily.
Yes.
And so it involves things like discipline, secrecy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't want to broadcast your plans outside of your community.
No, without a doubt.
Yeah, you want to keep it on the hush.
Yeah.
Because people are sly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they about to do that? Oh, we got something for that.
Oh yeah.
And then when you go try to execute your strategy, like, oh dang.
Yeah. They have people who infiltrate PACs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The judicial branch has changed voting laws and things of that nature just to affect these different strategies. Like the reason why I call this is kind of off topic, but I'm just gonna throw this in here real quick. The reason why I call Obama the greatest politician ever is because he really didn't need the PACs to support him.
Right.
He put up a website, and instead of getting $2 million from a PAC, you get $2 million. You can get $1 from 2 million people.
Yeah.
And it counteracts that money.
Yeah. And so, what else I want to say? About the difference between politics and government. Now they've been infused where politics just doesn't have to do with government. Politics is in everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah. So everything in your life becomes political.
Right.
And so you want to pay attention to it, since it's like a form of a social science. You have to really study people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have to pay attention to these subversive words that they use within their campaign.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have to really go and do research.
Yes. So
it affects the minds of the people, and people don't really study the politics, and they also don't study their candidates like that.
Yeah.
And like one political thing that we get in America is democracy.
Right.
So our local government is ran more democratically, but our federal government is not a democracy.
Not necessarily. No.
So our federal government is a republic. You know what I mean? So like that's in your Pledge of Allegiance is for the republic.
For the republic for which it stands.
For which it stands. Yeah, we are a republic.
Right.
So these forms of government comes out of Greece. Because before Greece, people had theocratic governments, or monarchies. And they didn't have all these revolts and all this civil unrest in those governments.
Right.
Yeah, they had peace for hundreds of years and thousands of years at a time. We are in a constant we're in constant civil unrest in our society under these democratic and republic ideals.
Now,
because they're based in distrust, and disloyalty.
Yes.
The republic is, we gonna vote what we think is best for you because you too stupid to even understand what's going on.
Right.
And then democracy is cool when everybody's educated, but what eventually happens is you're dealing with the psychology of human beings, and it turns into mob rule.
Right.
And once you have a minority and a majority, the majority eventually takes over the minority.
Exactly.
Until you keep on dividing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The forefathers had that insight when they were writing the Constitution.
Right.
That's the reason why they split it.
Yeah.
You got the House and you got the Senate.
Yeah.
And the thing that they were worried about mostly was the Senate.
Yeah.
The reason why they were worried about mostly the Senate,
because
the Senate doesn't have any governance. Not really. Like you don't stand for the people. You stand for an ideal. You stand for your ideal because you're supposed to be wiser The reason why the forefathers were scared of this, because people would riot.
Yeah.
They were worried about rioting.
Yeah.
From the people. Now you get people, you know, it's like, oh, look at them crazy people, they're rioting.
Yeah.
No, your country comes from rioting. That's how it started.
That's how it started.
Party.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
yeah. And another interesting thing that those founding fathers wrote, not in the Constitution, but in the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
They had a concept of saying that the government should be reformed every 10 years.
Every 10 years,
so it doesn't get too powerful.
Too powerful. Yep.
And also another thing is your states are supposed to have more power than the federal government.
Yes.
But over the last few presidencies, we've seen that power flip-flop until your federal government is starting to have more power than your state governments. And when we learned about the political process for the first time in elementary school, that was in the social studies book.
Yeah.
That was in the social studies book. Big federal government, bad.
Bad.
Yeah. Strong state government, good.
Yep.
And it was only like two politicians that were saying that in the last presidential election. It was like Ron Paul and Rick Perry.
Yeah, because they're not governed by a party.
Yeah.
Like Ron Paul ran under the Republican Party,
Yeah.
but he's not necessarily a Republican. He
True.
would be considered a libertarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody else is in the favor of big government. And that's what Barack Obama has really brought into the arena. He brought in big federal government.
Yes.
And he even said that in his campaign that he was going to do that.
Yes, because, well, he kind of really didn't have a choice, because it started with Bush.
Yeah.
That's why the Republicans hate Bush so much. Like, they kind of push Bush to the side, because Bush was the first person to start a big government after 9/11, because he needed all the wisdom to come to him so he could plant down this boogeyman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, it started with Bush, and it kind of trickled down to Obama. And once Obama found out that he needed the same kind of information, because he felt like he needed the government to find this boogeyman, he kind of built it up. And Democrats have always been, you know, one for federal government over state government kind of thing. It's a liberal thing, but, you know, we're not. We're a union of states. Yeah. We're not a big government. We're a union of states. It's the United States of America, not the USA. It's the same thing, but you get my drift.
I get your drift. And you know, also, like, we promote that you should get a legal dictionary, and you should look up some of these terms.
Yes, Black's Law Dictionary.
Black's Law Dictionary, like in one of the editions of the Black's Law Dictionary, you might find the word minority, and what minority really means in a legal situation. Like, minority, not saying that you are the lesser population. Minority speaks to your mental capability to govern yourself as an adult.
Yes.
And to call yourself a minority means that you have a mind of a child.
Right.
And so you're not responsible for what you do, so somebody else has to be responsible for it. Exactly. Which is your majority.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The reason why the numbers are cooked for the majority.
Yeah, the majority really don't. A regular dictionary speaks to the social definition of the word. Right. Yeah, and not the legal definition.
Legal terms.
Yeah. And the legal definition is tied into the etymology.
Right. Okay.
And it's based off of common law.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and common law has a start in England.
Okay.
And that's a form of law that was brought into America, and it still holds a credence over our law, which is called statutory law.
Oh, okay.
And statutory law is based on certain statutes. When you quote a case, you say, in this case, the vote went this way.
Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, Roe. And that's called a statute.
Okay.
But your common law it supersedes that statute. Because common law is based on fairness, decency, you know, and equality.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so we get into back to local government. So we have more of a democratic process, and according to the social definition of minority and majority, you know, you have to understand the numbers better and how these numbers are against you, and how these numbers are for you. Right. Yeah, and you have to use that to your advantage when you start planning what strategy you want to go with.
Exactly.
And if you don't take that into consideration, you're gonna have a weak strategy,
right?
An ineffective strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and another I forgot what I was gonna say about another definition. Which was it? Say minority and majority. I'll come back to it later.
Okay.
But when you have to I lost my thought on that.
Well, we could talk about minority and majority. When you have majority, what do we call it? Majority rule.
Okay.
All right. So if you got 10 people in the room, right, and 6 of them want to go to Pizza Hut, and 4 of them want to go to Domino's, majority rule.
Majority rule.
Right.
Yeah. And so, dang, it popped in my head again.
Oh, my bad.
And I lost it. But the majority and the minority. And dang, I was going somewhere dope with that. So that's what happens when you freestyle.
Hey man,
live on air.
That's how you do it, bro.
Yeah, we about 45 minutes in.
Cool.
Yeah. But the dang, it was something good in there. It was something good in there. The majority. Oh yeah. Okay. So also in majority and minority, we had civil rights.
Right.
We had the civil rights movement.
Gotcha.
And we had integration. And integration, you know, we had a social definition of integration, talking about how the races should mix in society, and live equally. But integration actually comes out of commerce law. Okay. Commerce law dictionary. Okay. And integration has to do with mergers and acquisitions of companies in commerce law. Okay. So what happens is the majority company acquires or merges with the minority company to become one new entity. Right. And in this new entity, the minority loses its identity to the majority. Right. And then the majority gets to call all the shots. And that minority is no longer.
Oh, kind of like sprinting next to you.
Right. Okay. So that's actually the concept of integration. Okay. It comes out so like when you go to the government with a moral problem. Governments don't give you moral solutions. No. Governments only offer economic solutions. Yes. Right. So when black people went in with the civil rights saying that we want to integrate this, and that, we always go at the government on a moral stance. And we accept the economic solution, which is usually not in our favor. Yeah. So what the civil rights movement did was it got rid of separate but equal, which is what a lot of the leaders wanted to maintain. Right. And so what the Civil Rights Act did was give the majority access to the minorities' markets. Okay. And so that's how that hurt a lot of black businesses because during the civil rights movement, before the act got signed, it was separate but equal. You know, and it's negatives to separate but equal. Yes. But it's also positives. And the positive thing about separate but equal was that black people were becoming self-sufficient. Yes. Without a doubt. And then when the act got signed, the self-sufficiency started to decrease. Right. Right. Because success brings in integration on its own. Right. Yeah. You don't need a law to have that. No. Right. Because everything that got signed in that Civil Rights Act was already a law granted to you in the Constitution. The Constitution, without a doubt. Yeah. So, and then it's another word you can look up in the dictionary: civil rights and civil privileges. And then you can ask yourself, did you get civil rights or civil privileges? Yeah, I'll let you look that up on your own. Yeah. But,
you probably already know the answer, though.
Yeah. And so within that, So within that, you have to when you go to your councilman with your moral issues, you need to already have an economic solution or idea of what you want to bring with them. You don't leave the solution up to them.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, you have to have your own solutions offered, and it's your council member, so you ask them for their counsel.
Yeah, without a doubt. I've already had this argument with people all the time, and I'm like, you know, when you holler out reparations, people either get scared, they get tentative, or they get combative.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've had this conversation about reparations a lot. And, you know, and the one thing I always get is, well, how will you disperse them? Yeah. Like, well, you don't really have to disperse them. You can tweak the tax rates.
Right.
Yeah, you can tweak the tax rates. You know, I don't. You want me to go over the plan, or you want me to just?
Go for it.
Hey, okay. So my idea of tweaking the tax rates is, okay, so you have different tax rates, and they're taxed on how much income you make. Right. All right. So if you make between, let's say, 35,000 to 40,000, you're in the 20th percentile, or the 20% tax rate. Okay. All right. So I was saying, in the black community, our basic reparations could be our unemployment rate versus the tax rate. So if you have an unemployment rate at 35%, you reverse that. Well, let's say for easier math, let's say you have an unemployment rate of 50%. You reverse that on itself, it would also be 50%, right? Okay. The reverse of 50% is 50%. Yeah. Right. Okay, so you take that 50% and you put it on the tax rate. All right. So let's say, for instance, you make $10,000. Okay. Your tax rate would be in the 10th percentile. Right. So that means 10% of your money goes towards taxes. But if your unemployment rate is at 50%, your tax rate now drops down to 5%. Okay. You take that tax rate and you throw it against the unemployment rate. Yeah. So now, instead of taking the 10% from the 10,000, you're only taking the 5% from the 10,000, which leaves more money in your pocket to do more inside of your community. Okay. That's one of my plans for reparations.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I agree with reparations. And in the Dave Chappelle show did point out something that you can't ignore.
Yes.
About reparations.
Yes.
Because you have to build up spirituality is important in this conversation of reparations, because you don't want people to misspend this money. Yes. Because that's when we get in the conversation of buying power being a weakness versus building power being the strength. And you have to have a spiritual, you have to have principles in yourself. And you have to stick to this code and these principles. Because with that money, people aren't spiritually developed yet, and you still have to, we would just be doing the same thing that's happening now in our society, except with a black face on it. So you still have to worry about greed, jealousy, and not to create a poverty condition all over again. So people have to have their mental game stepped up. Because even though I agree with reparations, we don't necessarily need them.
Not at all.
Because with that $1 trillion that black people have in America, we still have that makes us like, it puts us in the, like, if we consider ourselves a nation,
a sovereign nation
within a nation, that would put us in like the top 10 economies in the world. Yeah, but the way we spend our money is not correct.
We don't spend it as if we are a nation. We spend it as if we're a community of individuals.
I mean, just think about a McDonald's commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, like when the last time you seen a McDonald's commercial cater towards white people?
It's been a while, like the 90s.
Yeah, I'm talking
early 90s.
I'm talking about McDonald's got church songs.
Man,
they got rapping.
They got the bass in the background.
Yeah, they got they got the black dude talking with this mainstream pop voice.
Yep. Talking to the light skinned black woman.
Yeah,
I just got a $100,000 job. Where are we gonna go eat?
Yeah.
Let's go to McDonald's.
Yeah. I heard like, yeah, I'm going to McDonald's for sure.
Yeah.
What? Who in the hell talks like that? I'm talking about they beatboxing and shit.
Yeah.
McDonald's going hard, but I'm not saying there's anything racist about that.
It's not.
No. What I'm trying to say about that is everybody knows how we spend our money incorrectly, and they're just taking advantage of our poor spending habits.
Exactly.
And that's the only thing that's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we need to make some money. Let's go holler at the black folks because they'll just throw it down the drain. Yeah.
And they can make some dope instrumentals.
Yeah, so like, I mean, for instance, alright, everybody knows about hair products, salons, how much black women buy weaves, get manicures, gotta get their hair done, and go to beauty supply stores, and only Asians only, right? But I know some Asians that I kick it with from time to time, and I went to their house, right? And I'm like, dang. So the salon is on the poor side of town. So is the beauty supply stores and the places you buy weed.
Right.
And all the black women go and buy all this. And sometimes we come out of our pocket as black men because we want them to keep their confidence up in that look.
Exactly.
Right? But when I went to the people's house that own the stores, I'm talking about like $400,000 and $500,000 houses. But not just one house. It's like each person in the family got one of those houses. And then they pull all their money together and they go buy land in a rural county.
Yep.
So they can build on top of that. And then they build on the land in the rural county. They build a community that's more so like where they're from back home.
Yeah.
So they can practice their culture in comfort. And that's what that's just something that happens because of the way we misallocate our funds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some people might ask, well, what does that have to do with politics? Well, after you build that community and you get those like-minded people in there, you become a part of a district.
Yeah.
And that district has a vote.
Yeah.
And your community is a part of that district. So you got all these people in your community, and you keep building that community until you become not the minority in that community anymore, or in that district anymore. You become the majority in that district, and now you have a powerful vote. And also the money to back the politicians that you want. Yeah. So not only can you vote them in office, but you can keep moving them up to higher positions because you keep supporting them with your funds.
Yeah. And you can turn that into an official town.
Right.
And the rules on how you do such is in the state constitution, which you have to download and read.
Yes.
Yeah. It's in PDF format.
It is in PDF format.
Yeah. Google is a powerful thing. I call it the Library of Alexandria. Yeah. But
people might not understand that reference. Go ahead.
I got you.
Yeah.
But
next song.
But those are subtleties that we're so used to that it goes unnoticed. And you have to become conscious of these things. Yes. And by conscious I mean aware. Yeah, you have to become aware of these things. It's nothing to get bent out of shape by. No. We don't need conspiracy theories on this. No. Yeah, we just need you to start being aware of the reality around you.
Over $2,000 makes you a pack.
Okay.
$2,000.
Yeah.
$2,000 makes you a pack. You can get 10 people together, put together $2,000, and you can become your own pack. and put forth your own agendas.
Yep.
And a politician is going to listen to you. Why? Because politicians, as we explained earlier, has a direct relationship to the money and the votes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the politics of the game. When I went on my cruise, you know what I mean, I started kicking it with I was kicking it with a Haitian guy.
Okay.
Him and his wife.
Okay.
And you know, we got to talking, and I started talking about history and politics.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh." So the more we talked, he was like, "You know, you should run for office."
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was like, "No, I don't want to really get into that." He was like, but the thing, he was like, he had some family members that's in government too, and he was like, when it comes to politics, which is different from government,
right.
One thing you can't do, you can't stop the cash flow.
No.
Yeah, you have to keep the cash flowing. Can't do that. As soon as you stop the cash flow, you're out.
You're out. You're out of there.
But if you want to make a change in your community, you keep the cash flow running, but you have to make programs within your community, and have the cash flow fund those.
Exactly.
And your programs might be in direct competition with what the government has planned with the cash flow.
Exactly.
And that's what I mean by dealing with the reality, because when it comes to things like this, and you get people debating and talking about what we should be, what we should be doing, what we could be doing, but those people don't realize, well, that ain't how it is.
Exactly.
You have to deal with this political situation as is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't have ideas and then you make your strategy on how the government should operate.
Right.
Yeah, you have to make a strategy on how the government actually is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does operate. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, people get into well, the school system in Durham ain't working. You know, the education is bad. The education system should be like this because it's the results it's getting. So the education system ain't working. But you have to think about what's the purpose of the educational system. And according to what the educational system is, in the results that it's turning out, is the educational system is working perfectly.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the educational system is supposed to produce employees.
Yep.
That's another cog in your wheel.
And it's supposed to weed out people who can't be employees.
Yeah, and send them to prison.
Well. Exactly. Yeah. It does that pretty well too.
Yes, and the prison, people want prison justice, but the prison is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
And the government is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
That's the problem with conspiracy theories and debates on what it should be like, because you miss out on the world as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you develop a strategy on an as-is basis.
Right.
Yeah, and then inside your strategy, you create this reality of what should be.
Should be, right.
But before you create your should be, you have to do your as-is calculations.
Or have a basic understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
Yeah. And so, and so that's, you have to include that within your solutions. And once you include it in your solutions, you have to distribute that to the people.
Right.
Yeah, because everybody isn't going to have the same understanding.
Right.
Yeah. So this is what makes you the leader.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just have to have people to support that.
Yep.
And this is what your packs and your agendas are for.
Right.
Because we have intelligent people in our community.
Very intelligent people
but
in our community.
The attention is being diverted into other things.
Things that don't really necessarily matter.
Things that don't necessarily matter. And we have to start using our mental capabilities to attack issues like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we're using words like attack because it's like military strategy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Politics is military.
And
war,
and I like to refer to Martin Luther King.
Okay.
When we're dealing with these mainstream issues as such.
Right.
So he was saying that you know, when he got to talk about voting, he was like, the voting process, the a strong economy, knowledge about economy is more important than knowledge about voting.
Right.
For black people in America,
right.
because our numbers aren't that high.
Right.
But he was like, the most important part of voting for black people is in large cities,
right,
where black people can make a majority in that city, and that city is so big that it counts as the main population for that state.
Right. Okay.
Say like Atlanta or Chicago. Let's say it was mostly black. And then the majority of that state's population, Georgia, Illinois, all live in Atlanta for the most part. Those are the places that you would want to affect with your black vote, because the influence goes outside of your city into influencing the politics of the entire state. Yeah, and then the state is supposed to have more power for itself than the federal government has over it. And so that was his take on voting. But he was like, if your black population is dispersed in different counties, and then that county doesn't make for a great part of the population, then politics shouldn't be black people's focus in that area.
No.
Your focus should be more economic.
Right.
And more coming together.
Yeah, because you can't affect anything on a political level. Yeah. Because you don't have the numbers to.
Right. Yeah, so that's another thing that you should you should think about within your strategy. Or so when your vote is spread out like that in your state, a more important thing, if you're going to get into politics, it would be more so on the national level.
Yes.
You can join one of the PACs or the caucuses or other organizations, but your main focus should be economics, getting money.
Or just be involved. I mean, all of these the thing I love about the United States is all of these politics numbers are on the website. Like, you can go on to the state government website and find everybody's number. All the way down up to your governor. Now, you might not get him on the phone, but you will get one of his representatives. You know what I mean? So, you can be involved in the process. Even if you don't have a lot of money, or even if you're not a big group, you can definitely be involved. And if something comes up that you don't like, call these politicians. Call them. Make sure that they know that this isn't right and you're not going to stand for it. And the way that you don't stand for it is your vote. Look, man, I'm not going to vote for you, and I'm telling everybody that I know that I'm not voting for you if you don't handle what I'm asking you to handle. All right? And show and prove. You might not get him out this election, but he might see a drop in his numbers, and he'll be like, oh, wait a minute. Might need to go talk to these people.
And this is this past election, this is the first election where I voted a split ticket. Yeah, because usually I just vote one party, all the way down. Don't know nothing about the candidate. And I was like, let me approach the political process in the way that it's supposed to be approached. So I did my research on each candidate to know exactly what I was voting for. And I didn't do that much research on the judges, but I did research. I researched about half of them, and a lot of these judges were standing on values that is in direct opposition of the black community. I was like, man, that agenda is kind of racist. Oh yeah. And people just voted for it blindly. I tell people all the time, if you go into any subject already in your ideals, how are you supposed to build? Like, it's like stepping into a church. If you step into a church knowing that you're never gonna be a Christian, why are you in the church? You know what I mean? If you go into a voting booth already knowing that you're gonna be all Democratic without even researching the Democrats, you deserve what you get. If you get bad government, you deserved it. Ignorance in the booth can make voting dangerous.
Without a doubt.
It's your responsibility as a citizen to be educated on this process. And also economics too, but right now we're talking about bullshit politics.
And also another thing, Vito's, look, man, I understand in the black community we like to talk, but, and I've heard Chris Rock talk about this in his comedy special, you don't need to go around telling everybody who you voted for.
True.
That's an independent thing. That's a personal thing.
Okay.
All right, it's personal. That's why we don't put up who people voted for on the internet, and you go into a separate booth to vote because it's supposed to be a private thing. You're not supposed to tell people who you're voting for. Like, you could be a registered Democrat, but you're not supposed to tell people who you're voting for. You need to keep that secret. It's a strategy thing, like you said. It's a strategy thing. Someone should not be able to come up to you, walk up to you, talk to you for 5 minutes, and know that you're a liberal. Somebody should not be able to come up, and this is my own opinion. Somebody should not be able to come up to you, talk to you, and know you're a conservative. It's not how that should work. You should vote for people on their ideals and their agenda. That's it. Not on their party. Now I know some of y'all are, liberal, strong and strong. But and I understand, we shouldn't be conserving anything that's going on right now. But it helps to find out and know what these politicians are about and use that as a building block when you go into that booth.
And another thing that's also online as public record is all the bills and agendas that in legislation that came out. And what's also public record within that is which way your politician voted. So,
or if he didn't vote at all.
Like some of your politicians are voting against stuff that you asked for.
And some of your politicians don't even show up to Washington.
I'm talking about in local government. Because when I was researching the people that was running for Congress and that was running for state legislation, I was looking at what they voted for, and I was like, so are they voting to make changes for the better, or are they staying status quo? Just going with the flow. Because stagnancy eventually leads up to falling back. So that's another thing that I looked at. And then another thing is along what you were saying earlier, that it's your right and your responsibility, and it's private. It's you have to look at these things, and you have to take them into consideration in relation to your politician. Because they just keep running, and you just going off of the name.
David Price is a perfect example of that. He's been in office since 1996. And
then like Mitchell. He was in there forever.
Forever. Jesse Helms, another one, he was in there forever.
And I just and I looked at the way they voted. And then and other people had better and progressive ideas. And another thing that we could talk about is these terms that doesn't necessarily have to do with parties. The parties are governments, but the political leanings are political, such as conservative and liberal. And so when I hear these terms, I ask myself, what actually are you conserving? What
are you trying to conserve?
What are you liberating?
Exactly.
So those are terms that are thrown around loosely, and people just get in it on some trend,
without a doubt,
something that's a fad. But they never ask themselves that question: what are you conserving,
and what are you liberating?
What are you liberating?
Because the conservatives was the party that pretty much got us out of slavery, per se.
I mean, what ideals are you conserving? Are you conserving these ideals that keeps people oppressed in impoverished conditions? Because that's something that is being conserved, saying you're conservative. So you can call yourself conservative, but it has, for black people, but it has to be conserving a different ideal than this term conservative.
Without a doubt.
Because in politics in America, conservative is actually conserving an agenda that's against the black community.
Without. I mean, because every law up until this point was, based on things that work against us. It's slowly but surely changing. But I mean, ever since the 3/5 of a human being thing, every law up against that has been either to, you know, eradicate stuff that was against us, or keep stuff going that was against us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to, so you can be a conservative, but you shouldn't be conserving that.
That, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in psychology, it's important for you to develop your own identity.
Yes.
And then you build social structures around your identity.
Yeah.
That is what you conserve.
That's why every politician goes up there like, I'm my own independent person. I'm not gonna take party lines.
Right.
I'm gonna go up here and change Washington. Yeah, that's the psychology behind that political stance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna be my own independent person. I am for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the liberal thing, what I see happening in liberal things is they're liberating, they're eradicating values and social concepts that are put in place to maintain people's culture,
right,
that serve them. And when you start getting rid of those things, you'll eventually have I don't want to say chaos,
right,
but it gets rid of a whole lot of boundaries and lines, and it's hard to identify a reality once those are all gone.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I have things that I'm conservative about, and I have things that I'm liberal about.
Right.
Yeah. So how could I just be all the way liberal when I have things that I'm conservative about? How can I be all the way conservative when I have things that I'm liberal about? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then people say I'm left wing, and another person say I'm right wing.
Don't even know what that means.
Don't even know what it means.
Don't even know what that means. Like, I hear people say I'm far left. Right? You know what I mean? You have no idea what it means. It means nothing. It means nothing.
Because it's left wing and right wing of the same bird.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a basic statement having to do with how the house is set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got left wing, right wing, liberal, conservative.
Exactly.
And then another thing that comes up in politics that I hear from people with a radical mindset in discussing these things. And I even heard this brought up in our local politics forum.
Okay.
We went to go attend the sessions, listening to the politicians give their campaign.
Right.
People bring up we need a third political party.
I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard this. And as far as local politics, I wouldn't get too far into that talk, because people bring that up. First, they make the people emotional about the politics,
right?
And then they offer that as a solution. But when you see that the city has voted Republican, voted Democrat every year since the city was founded in the 1800s, why would you make a third political party?
Yeah, it's no reason.
Yeah, it's no reason.
Yeah, it's no reason. Yeah.
I mean, I could brainstorm ways to make that.
I think every politician dreams of that. Well, every person who studies politics and every person who kind of sees the difficulties in just having two parties dreams of that day when another party will stand up against the two parties. Yeah. But I fail to see when that's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, I did watch a debate in the last presidential election. The Libertarian Party was debating the Green Party.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, exactly. I like candidates who run on an independent platform. I think that's noble. To be independent, you choose a side based on the things that you're liberal about and based on the things that you're conservative about. Yeah. But for the most part, people fall under those two categories, and they fall, either way left or way right.
Yeah, and it's
right. Or in the middle.
And and once you get in there, it's a dancing game. Some of your politicians do vote against what they said they was going to stand for.
Without a doubt.
But they have to play ball. You know what I mean? They have to give up on this issue to get another issue passed that you want.
Or to get some money to their constituents.
Yeah, so you gotta be aware of that too.
Yeah. See that a lot when politicians go against things that they said they were going to come in and change in order to have money funneled into, you know, different things that they want, pork barrel spending type of thing. But you know, that's one of the things that we have to be very, very realistic about. You know what I mean? Just because a person says that he's a Democrat, or just because a person says that he's liberal, or just because a person says that he's a Republican, and just because a person says that he's conservative, doesn't necessarily mean that he'll vote along those lines every time he gets a chance to.
Yeah. Do we have anybody in the chat?
No, we don't have anybody in the chat right now, so no questions. I think we broke that politics thing down.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job on that breakdown.
Yeah.
Any closing statements?
Yes. Hold your politicians accountable.
Yeah.
Be well versed in your local government.
Mm-hmm.
Know who these people are. With that being said, we have 2 black congressmen in Durham.
Okay.
Their names are Ed Davis is a black man, and I keep getting the name wrong. Cole McFadden.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a black woman, and of course Bill Bell. Of course,
mayor,
Bill Bell.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a congressman. He's a council member too. He just happens to be the mayor.
Yeah.
Call these people, man. See if they are putting forth an agenda that you want them to put forth, and make them accountable to the things that they say. Do that. Call your board of elections. Make sure you understand what's going on in your community. That's a part of being a great citizen.
Yeah, and once your community finds out what it wants and what it stands for and make this agenda, when you have that politician, you hold them accountable by this checklist.
Yes.
You have to have a checklist in relation to your agenda, and you have to hold the politician accountable to that.
Right.
And then that's how you know whether to vote him in or vote him out.
Vote him out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we got, you know, I ain't gonna get into that.
Yeah.
But
we're close.
Yeah, that's it for today's show. This is InvinciBullTV. That's Invincible, BULL for Bull City. Yeah, and you can find us on YouTube on the InvinciBullTV.
Yep.
Go there and hit the subscribe button, and then you can find me on Instagram IB_Einstein, and on Facebook is IB Einstein.
Yep. You can find me on Instagram, Be Contrary, BE_CONTRARE. That's contrary with an E, not a Y. And also my website is www.becontrary.com.
And go to www.cdbaby.com/IB Einstein. And also /IB Einstein too, and check out my music if you like that.
Yes,
cop that.
Yes, go get that Independence Day is Dead. That Gospel of Einstein.
Peace out.